2002, at Abington Hospital, we saw God gift us with life in two different ways. My husband Dave was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 2, and began life-saving chemotherapy. 5 days later, it was a very busy 5 days, Dave gripped our first beauty, Lane Grace, our precious newborn, in a little tight football hold. As Dave started his treatment, one of the kind oncologist nurses commented to Dave, "Are you related to Dr. Maxwell?" Dr. Maxwell, who's now retired, was from Abington Hematology Oncology. He treated all his patients with exceptional care, yet he showed exemplary compassion to Dave and I. Dr. Maxwell knew we were raw parents, being taught a new dance of chemotherapy and life with a little person. 6 months later on Halloween, we celebrated by eating a cancer-free pumpkin pie. God used the chemotherapy to annihilate the cancerous grapevines that were throughout Dave's chest. Dave has been riding around with a C-free license plate now for 14 years as a testament to God giving him life in complete remission. And it says C-free. Some people think it means carbon-free, but it's cancer-free. In 2004, God blessed us with a little man we named Maxwell. Then our bookend, Jack, was born in October 2007. Life was very full. 1 month later, I began experiencing a throbbing pain, as Dr. Maida just mentioned, in my legs. I dismissed it since it was my 3rd C-section. I was not aware of the severity of the symptom. A week later on Thanksgiving, I experienced an elephant on my chest pain and was sobbing as I fed our little baby Jack. Knowing something was very wrong, we went to Abington ER. Immediately, the ER doctors evaluated and diagnosed me with a pulmonary embolism. This was my first walk in the valley of the shadow of death. Dr. Maida treated me for about a year, closely watching my blood levels. I wanted to remain on a holiday card basis with Dr. Maida, but God had something else in mind. In 2011, at 35 years old, I started to feel extremely bloated and experience intermittent diarrhea. I thought maybe it was a parasite. I know some of you might be closet WebMDers. Sure enough, I tested positive for a very unique parasite and began about 10 weeks on 2 different antibiotics. With no improvement, I got an ultrasound of my ovaries because I learned that sometimes with bloating, you could have ovarian cancer. That was negative, no ovarian cancer. Then I got an appointment with a gastrologist, and she gave me 2 rounds of probiotics and referred me to infectious diseases because she never saw this parasite before. After a few months with no improvement and the infectious disease releasing me, I went back to the gastrologist and I requested a colonoscopy and an endoscopy. Being so young, I thought it would have to be irritable bowel or a gluten allergy. I had no family history of colon cancer, so that was the farthest concern from my mind. So in May 2012, I got a colonoscopy that revealed I had a malignant tumor in my colon and I needed a colon resection. Dave and I prayed, and we were not sure where to go for this major procedure. Many friends advised us to go to Penn or Jefferson, not a small hospital. We researched and felt like Dr. Fassler of Colon Rectal Associates here at Abington showed utmost precision and exceptional care and humbly shared his understanding of this major operation and all that was entailed. So we proceeded with the resection on June 8th in 2012. Dr. Fassler was able to successfully remove the tumor, and by God's grace, he was able to see 3 malignant lymph nodes out of the 12 that surrounded that tumor. A couple days later, Dr. Maida came into the hospital room, and I knew by his eyes and his posture that he had hard news for our hearts. He was sharing this burden with us. He waited to carry it alongside of us. He diagnosed me with colon cancer stage 3B. I always knew I was a B student, so this really solidified the B. God reminded me he knows the exact number of hairs on my head, exact location of my tumor, and allowed the exact number of cells to be malignant. I knew chemo was going to be a long, hard chapter in my story. Moreover, the question for my heart at the moment was, Ashley, are you going to act like an orphan, or are you going to trust God to preserve your life? In the Bible, Psalm 41 says, "The Lord delivers them in times of trouble. The Lord protects and preserves them." Dave and I prayed that God would preserve my life and carry us through this valley. I needed 12 chemo treatments every other week for 6 months. Dr. Maida met with me every other week to carefully examine me from head to toe. He never rushed. He always asked how I was doing with the symptoms of chemo and helped me find a new normal in the face of hard. Dr. Maida would always patiently answer all of our questions, and with a husband who's an engineer, he had a lot of questions. Every appointment was like a biology class. His precise understanding and wisdom, as you all saw, helped me know how to pray. He would share cancer cells can get smart and find new pathways to grow. So Dave and I would translate detailed prayers. Okay, God, we're going to ask you to give Ashley the dumbest cancer cells that are forever homeless. Dr. Maida also tuned into my whole person. He helped me re-landscape how I thought about food, exercise, and my roller coaster of emotions. In December 2012, I finished chemotherapy. There was active surveillance that followed the next 18 months. My body was scanned every 3 months, followed by 6. On March 8, 2014, Dr. Maida called me and shared my tumor marker, known as the CEA, carcinoma embryonic antigen, was beginning to rise. In 2012, I already walked through this valley. Now I felt like death was chasing me. We still were not sure if this rise numbers meant a cancer recurrence. We tried to remain cautiously optimistic. My body was scanned, which revealed 3 lymph nodes that were active in my median sternum. That's like around here for those of you who aren't in the medical. Usually when colon cancer makes a comeback, recurrence, the cells travel to your lungs, your liver, and or your stomach. I felt God's grace that it metastasized locally. There's something to be grateful for at all times. He was in the business, God was in the business of preserving my life. We consulted with Dr. Ward at Abington, a pulmonary specialist, and we still were not sure if this condition was called sarcoidosis, which is inflammation from chemotherapy. This can also raise your CEA level. We could not biopsy because the risk outweighed the outcome, so we waited for 6 months, carefully watching my CEA. 6 months later, my CEA climbed dramatically, and we were now able to biopsy. When Dr. Maida told us the biopsy was malignant, we were just broken. Our hearts were shattered. At that moment, you feel all your dreams, raising your children, family dinners, vacations, graduations, weddings, holding a grandchild, growing old with Dave, and being blessed with wrinkles and gray hair, all these dismantled dreams. Bible verses I memorized over my life exploded in my head over that hour. Trust in the Lord, Ashley, with all your heart. And then it also popped in, don't lean on your understanding. God also has a verse in the Bible that says, my ways are not your ways, my thoughts are not your thoughts. And another verse, Ashley, I've loved you with an everlasting love. Even in this grief, our hope and peace was rooted in knowing these 3 malignant lymph nodes had touched God before me. See, God was already taking these shattered pieces of glass, and forming a glorious stained glass mosaic of my soul. In that little white room, Dr. Maida helped us pick up the pieces of our broken hearts by answering all of our questions about stage 4 metastasize. He consulted with another oncologist and helped make a plan for fighting this disease. The following week, he was super busy with seeing patients here at Abington, but during his break, he made a priority to meet with us in the LenFest lobby to discuss a battle plan based on genetic results. What was heaviest on our hearts were our 3 children. How are we going to be honest, yet not plant seeds of fear in them? Kids are gifted with smelling fear and knowing something is wrong. After about an hour of discussing all of our concerns with Dr. Maida, he recommended Gilda's Club. Lane 12 had the most difficult time digesting and understanding this new diagnosis. Fear was her food. Lane was open to going to Gilda's Club and meeting with a counselor and peers who had a parent with cancer. She absolutely loved Gilda's Club. She actually called it unfortunate because if you get cancer, you're unfortunate. Dave would often take her, and she was blessed by the age-appropriate discussions. They addressed multiple topics and coupled each topic with an engaging activity. One activity, she made a little pillow and wrote all her different emotions and feelings on a pillow and put it right next to her head while she slept. Another activity she did was with a Venn diagram. Life before cancer, and then the middle part of the Venn diagram were the same events, how it doesn't change or it remains the same, and the other part of the Venn diagram was life, how it changes after diagnosis. I remember staring at the Venn in a chemo fog, just blown away how much on many levels cancer changes everything, even in my girl's life. Even in the fog and nausea and fatigue, these activities encouraged my heart to slow down and focus on her and even apply what she was soaking in each week. With 12 intensive treatments, the chemo lasted 6 months. I had a clear scan halfway through with the chemo, but I stayed the course of treatments. Last April, I began an oral chemo, the oral version I'm on, it's called